Well, good evening, everybody. It's Beth Caldwell, and I'm here for a special evening workshop for you. Position yourself as an expert. In tonight's workshop, we're going to talk about how you can become known as a leader, expert, and authority so that you can stand out from your competition. This is a workshop I have been teaching for years, and I talk to my clients every single day about the content that I'm including in this workshop tonight. And in fact, I did record a workshop more than 10 years ago called How to Position Yourself as an Expert. And it's still on my website. It is the most downloaded file on my website, but it is literally so old. It's before MP3s came out. And so I've been promising to redo this recording with some updated information and and this one is going to be a video instead of recording. And by the way, the last time I recorded this workshop, we didn't even have the term authority influencing. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this content with you tonight. And I have a lot of information for you. I have a hot drink here. I have a cold drink here. You will want to grab yourself a pen and paper, shut off everything else that you have for about the next 40, 45 minutes, and tune yourself in here, get comfortable, and let's learn about how and why you should position yourself as an expert. So why do you want to be positioned, right? There are a lot of ways. For some of you, you have your own business. You want to stand out from your competition. Some of you have a career in the community. Or you have a service that you offer and you want to become a recognized authority or a recognized leader. Those of you who work in corporate America that want to position yourself for promotions and for raises, and you don't want to squash your competition, but you want to stand out from your colleagues who may also be your competitors, especially for the many women that we have here tonight that are attorneys. You want to use positioning to establish yourself as a leader within your company or in the community. So who am I? Oh my gosh, like this slide, I'm telling you, I have been doing marketing and publicity for a very long time. I started my business in 2005, about to celebrate my 20th anniversary in business. And I've done a lot of positioning over the years. My 10th book is about to be released. I wrote my first book in 2009, finished my 10th book in 2019. I've done a lot of web television, regular television. I've written for magazines. I have a very popular blog on Thrive Global. And I taught for 4 years with the Steve Harvey Success Institute. And in the Success Institute, I taught about public relations and branding and marketing and leadership. So I have had a lot of experience at helping people to position themselves. Now, I no longer work with the Steve Harvey Institute, but what I do nowadays is I coach business women, and I specialize at working with women who want to go from making hundreds of dollars a month in their business to multiple thousands of dollars a month in their business. And I do that for them by positioning, as well as helping them with systems in their business, bookkeeping systems, accounting systems, publicity, marketing, positioning, and selling. These are the things that I do. Now, there is nothing for sale today. I've been promising my clients that I would record this workshop so that they could watch it and so that I don't have to keep repeating it over and over again. So you don't have to worry, there is no pitch at the end, but today I do work as a coach and my program is called Shift. And if you like what you hear tonight and you'd like to work with me, then we'll get together at the end of this talk. So tonight, folks, hold on. I'm going to give you 8 strategies for positioning yourself. Now, here's what I want you to know. I don't want you to implement all 8 strategies. They are not all for you to implement. I want you to pick 3. So listen to the 8 strategies and pick the 3 that work best for you. Now, if you've already done some positioning, Then pick the 3 that you're doing and see how you can improve them. Maybe you'll get some tips tonight. But I don't want you to get overwhelmed with the strategies that I'm going to be sharing with you. They are not all going to be super comfortable for you. Okay, so listen to all 8 and pick the 3 that you want to implement right away. All right, so let's jump in. I have 8 strategies and I want to do this in 45 minutes. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to talk a little bit fast tonight. Strategy number 1. If you are just starting out or you haven't done any positioning at all for yourself, the easiest thing that you can do is to leverage your education and your experience. So what do I mean by that? Your education. For a lot of my clients, I work with a lot of people in the financial and the law sectors of that work in their career. So, you know, they have a JD, they're an attorney, they have a certified financial planner, they have some kind of a certification. There are other certifications that you're probably familiar with. Obviously, doctor, right? That's a certification you should be pretty proud of. CPA, certified professional organizer, CPO, psychologist, psychiatrist. If you have a certification, then you should use it if you're working in the field that you're certified in, right? So I have worked with a couple of people who've worked in finance, accounting, and law, and now they own a catering business. So it really doesn't make sense to be a CPA/caterer. So we would drop the CPA in that case. But in the catering business, we would use the certification of, there's no certification to be a caterer, but we would use something different, like years of experience. She's been feeding hungry people for more than 30 years. Or she has been making delicious pastries since she was 11 years old, right? So certifications, if you have them, if they're required for your field, if they help to position you, but if you don't have certifications, you can use years of experience. You can also use your achievements, okay? So let me give you an example of what I mean by using your certification, your years of experience or achievements, like in a bio or on an about page of your website. Oh, I'm gonna make this up here. I was gonna give you an example, like a makeup example, but I'm gonna actually give you real examples. So let me give you one on achievements. I once wrote a website for an auto body shop, and I didn't know anything about auto repair at all. Now I know a whole lot more about it, right? And so sometimes you could have an achievement of like certified award winner, designated, certain kind of paint, certain kind of VIPs. But one of the things that this auto body shop had that I noticed that was very different about him, which would help him to stand out from his competition, was that first of all, he used all very safe and ecological, environmentally friendly paint. In my part of the world, that's not required. It's required in some states, but it's not required where we live. So that's something that he does that costs him a lot of money that he doesn't have to do. That stands him apart from his competition. Something else that really stood out this particular business owner was I noticed that his employees were very loyal. And some of his employees had been with him since before he bought the company, right? So some of the employees had been there for 30, 33, 34, 35 years, and he had bought the company 25 years ago. And so I noticed that there wasn't anybody that had been there for less than 18 years. So one day when I was there on a site visit, I went around and I added it up. And between his, I don't know, 15 or 20 employees, we had 750 years of car repair experience. Now, isn't that just a little bit different than what you usually see in somebody's certifications? So that's an idea of how you can use your education and experience. Let me give you an idea of how not to use your education and experience. About 3 or 4 years ago, I was helping another client write a website, and she had a holistic wellness center. She was a therapist, and she had massage, she had all alternative things there. So she did traditional therapy, but she had, you know, Reiki and energy work. She had massage therapy. She had somebody that did aromatherapy, somebody that did iridology, and she had some yoga practitioners and nutritionists, folks like that. So she hired me to write everybody's bio because they were all very different. They weren't consistent. There wasn't like a standardization. So I had everybody in that company fill out a form just so I would have something to get started with. And so they sort of created their own bios, and then I polished them off and improved them. So I'll never forget this lovely woman. Her name was Louise, and she was, I think, the second person I worked with that day. And I came in, I looked at Louise's bio, and let's just say it was June of 2019 that she was sitting in front of me, and it said, Louise has been a licensed massage therapist since June of 2019. Right? And that was it. And that said the school that she went to. Now, this woman was over 50. And I thought to myself, now, if I'm on the website, I'm not going to be like, oh, yay, let me hurry up and give her $85 to rub my back. She's been doing this for a week, right? So that's not going to work in your benefit. So I talked with her a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about your journey. What made you interested in massage? And I heard this fascinating story about her life growing up on a farm where she picked herbs with her grandmother, and her mother would make these healing packs when she was just like 6 years old. So we began her bio by saying she's been helping people heal since she was a young child. Now, if you read that, you go, oh yeah, I want her to rub my back, right? You don't even worry about how much it costs. You just immediately warm up to that person. This is a client attraction tool, and it's step one one way that you can position yourself. So that's strategy one, your education and experience. Strategy two might come very naturally to you. Some of you might be looking at me like, why would I ever want to do this? Strategy two, become a resource, is something that's super, super natural to me. It is a strategy that I have used for positioning that I never thought was a strategy, because I'm a natural resource. I was a social worker before I became an entrepreneur. So I have always been helping people. And so when I started my first business, I started something. This is the first way. By the way, I'm going to give you some tips here that are online and offline, and ways that you can become a resource. This was the first way I positioned myself as a resource, and I had no idea this was a positioning tool at the time. This is my LinkedIn group, my Pittsburgh Professional Women LinkedIn group, and let's see if we can see here. Does it say how many members? 6,167 members on that group. I started this group maybe about 9 years ago, and I actually had a group before this on a platform you might have heard of called Yahoo Groups. And the only reason, you guys, that I started a group is because I used to keep a list of events and awards and classes and workshops that women business owners or women professionals could attend in my town. And I was just constantly sending emails, and there was no constant contact when I started my group on Yahoo. So I didn't have any way to put a list together, and I heard about this thing called Yahoo Groups, and I just told everybody, look, if you want to know about these different various events, join this group. And this was a way that I could send out a group email. I didn't do it as a strategic positioning tool. Yahoo got a little shifty as time got on. There was a lot of adult content on there. People didn't want to be there. And this wonderful organization called LinkedIn started up. And so I moved my group over to LinkedIn. And in 2012, I won an award, top 20 most influential women on LinkedIn, because of this group. And all I was trying to do was find a way that I could get a message to a lot of people in a short amount of time by being a resource. So having a group and running a group online is a great way to position yourself as a resource. Now, besides LinkedIn, I also have a group on Facebook. My LinkedIn group has done a phenomenal job of positioning me. I have gotten some speaking jobs. I've gotten invited to write for different publications through my LinkedIn presence, and I've gotten a lot more clients on LinkedIn. But I'm certainly more visible in my Facebook group, and this group is a little bit more active. So my group on Facebook is called Monday Morning Mastermind. We just have a little over 1,000 members in that group, far less members than in my other group, but this one's super interactive. And so I recommend, depending on who your ideal client is or where you're trying to position yourself, that you pick one social media place that you want to be on. Now, for those of you who are attorneys and realtors and CPAs, and you don't want to be on social media, or you don't need to be on social media, or your clients aren't there, I have some tips for you. This is my client, though. This is Barb Novad, and she is an ADHD coach for families. She works with families who have children who have been diagnosed with autism, and she does things like help them navigate parent-teacher meetings and mornings and homework and doctor's visits and choices about medication and all those important things that you have to deal with when you have a child with ADHD. And Barb does not have a group on Facebook, but she does have a fantastic page on Facebook. It's a business page where she shares a lot of resources, and families and moms and teachers have come to know her for the resources that she shares, and they refer their friends over there. So that is something that works for Barb. Now here's something that's not on social media, but it's still online. And this is not one of my clients, but this is somebody that I really respect and admire. She's from Canada. Her name is Joy, and she is a health coach. And her way of positioning herself as a leader in her field is she has created an ebook, and she's created on a really unique topic. And what it is, it's a flour substitution chart. Now listen, anybody that wants to go gluten-free or wants to get off of wheat or get flour out of their diet, they can probably find all of the information in Joy's ebook somewhere on Google. But what Joy has done is she has collected and compiled it for them. So if they want to make a gluten-free banana bread and they want to know what kind of flour, should they use almond flour or coconut flour or teff flour, her guide is going to tell you what is the best. Or if she has a recipe that calls for teff flour and she doesn't even know what teff is, but she does have some coconut flour and almond flour, you can go to this flour substitution chart and see what would make sense. So for Joy's ideal client, the woman who's trying to get sugar, flour, maybe dairy and wheat out of their diet, this is a great resource for them. She offers it completely free, and every time they use it, they see her name and her logo and her beautiful style. And I think there's some recipes in this book. So they're constantly being reminded that Joy is there available for them when they need her. And when they got the book, they have given Joy their name and email. So every time Joy sends out an email or a recipe or a tip, they're constantly hearing from her. So giving something away of great value, something that people will use often, is a fantastic strategy to position yourself as a resource. Now, for those of you who are not interested in giving away something on a website or being on social media, you can become a resource out in the community. This is my client, Lisa Kroll, and she's a financial advisor. And you know, financial professionals are very, very important, and they are there for us when we really need them, when we have to make important financial decisions, when we are making investments, when we are choosing our IRA options, when some of us are getting a divorce, when you have insurance things, they're really important for you. But you know, Lisa doesn't want to just work with her clients during life's hiccups. She wants to work with them all through their lives so that they have nest eggs. She really specializes at planning retirement, and she even niches down a little bit into working with parents and families who maybe are in their late 30s and they've spent all their money so far on tuition on their children, and they just haven't built up their nest egg yet. And she really likes to work with that nest egg, that client. They're usually busy working professionals. And so she has started a group called the Moxie Women's Network. And I love this logo and I love her colors. This is in her hometown. And it's a group of women leaders that she gathers a few times a year for workshops, have excellent speakers. And she gives them great content by other local leaders, all in the way positioning herself as a leader. So there are ways that you can do this offline as well. And this is something cute that I did last year with my boyfriend. We were invited to judge a statewide spelling bee at a resort in the middle of our state. And I didn't think that was a positioning tool. I just thought that was a really fun thing to do. I'm a writer, he's a scientist. We got invited and we had such a blast. Although it's awful to ding the bell when kids don't get the spelling words right. But you know what? This really positioned us both in front of a lot of community leaders, because this was an event that was at a large, corporate conference center, and a lot of businesses were present, and a lot of parents were present, and a lot of schools were present. These are all my ideal clients. And I was so surprised at how many people came up to me and said, oh, I read your articles, I have your book, and could you come and speak at our conference, our leadership conference? I just never expected that to happen at a statewide spelling bee where I was a volunteer. So putting yourself out in the community as a volunteer, it's just not a bad idea if it makes sense and puts you in front of the people who should be seeing you, okay? Especially for those of you who are wanting to be partners in your law firm. For those of you who have just started a business, I know I was checking who signed up here today, and I know we have a couple of naturopaths here, a couple of nutritionists, life and health coaches. Those of you who are just building up your business, it's a really great idea to do some work in the community so that you can be visible. So you shouldn't be all online, you shouldn't be all offline. The happy medium somewhere in between. All right, strategy 3, by the way, I'm starting with the easiest things that you can do to make this simple for you. Endorsements. If you have nothing to go on, if you don't like to be a resource, you don't have any certifications, but you do an awesome job at what you do and people are always telling you about your great results, use endorsements. Now, endorsements, thank yous, praise, recognition, things like that are what people say. When I'm working with my clients, I'm like, we have to show results. Because if I say, oh, Beth came and spoke at our event, she taught a leadership class, she taught a class on negotiation, and she's so nice, and she's so friendly, oh my gosh, that necklace is so pretty, right? That doesn't make somebody want to hire you, right? What you say is, Beth Caldwell came and taught a class on negotiation. I listened to 2 of her tactics and I got a raise the next day. Or the next time I had my review, I was confident enough to ask for a raise. That's a result. That's the kind of endorsement that I want you to look for. So I have some examples for you here. This is one of my clients, Greg Emsley. He is a career coach. His company is A More Perfect Career. And this particular client, we're using this endorsement because he's a CEO of a large and well-known company, right? Now, his endorsement was very, very long. It was a couple of paragraphs long, but we use this endorsement on Greg's website when we're describing his career coaching package because it's given by a CEO. And what I pulled out of that endorsement is a really great line. If you need help in your career, I don't know who else to recommend. And then the name and the title. So this is a great endorsement because it comes from somebody distinguished and recognized in the community. This is another client of mine. This is Sherry Dunleavy, and she is a former news anchor, and she's an author and a speaker. She has a fantastic message that she shares. And again, we are using this because it's a good endorsement, but also because of where it comes, because Sherry wants to speak at more universities. And as I'm looking at this, I could even divide this one into 2 different endorsements. It could be 2. It could say, her presentation was thought-provoking and inspiring. She is living proof that it is never too late to set new goals and follow your dreams. We could really end that right there. We could have a separate one that says, I would highly recommend Sherry for any speaking engagement. So depending on where you're using your endorsements, you can even break them up into 2. I use that one on purpose so you can see how I did that. Now, if you are brand new in your company and you actually don't have any endorsements, you can lean on your company for leadership or your leadership. So you might work for, I looked at some prestigious awards. You might work for a company. You might be a recruiting talent manager for a company that's Fortune magazine's, one of Fortune magazine's world's most admired companies. I think they put a list out of 100 each year. There's another, as you know, I work with a lot of folks in finance, insurance, world's most ethical companies lists. Your company might be a Hall of Fame award winner. It might be listed as a best company to work for. Like my client who was The Body Shop, you might work for an eco-friendly company, which is still, sadly, still sets you apart from the competition. Perhaps you work with a very diverse company. Perhaps you work with somebody who is a specialist at helping certain kinds of diversity. whatever it is, we've helped our clients blank. If you need to lean on your company for leadership and endorsement, for now, you can do that. Now, when people love and adore you, all right, and you have made a major difference in their life, a lot of times, so in the old days, they used to handwrite us letters. I still get handwritten letters. You can see over here, I keep some of my things. Let's see if you can see that. Where is it? There you go. You can see my bulletin board there. Some of my clients have still write me thank you notes. But most people today send you an email. And the thing about email is they can get very, very long. And so sometimes I'll have my clients send me a few endorsements and I will pull out something brief. You want to imagine when you're doing an endorsement, number one, we want it to be results focused. Number two, if you have a lot of endorsements, you want to take them from the most influential companies or people, okay? And number three, you want it to be brief. So you want to imagine it's like when you sit at the movies and the movie credits their recommendations are coming in and it's like movie of the year, laughed and cried. No, they're not long. They're just one sentence or a few words. So here's some examples from my Shift program. Nicole wrote me a very, very long email, and what we pulled out of that for our website is, this was a game changer for me and my business. I'm so glad I did this. You see, we're using our endorsements to make it easy for people to hire you, promote you, or buy something from you, right? And so we don't need to give all of the details. Let's just pull the good stuff out. Let's see what else we have in here for you. Kelly Hayweiser, the Shift program propelled my book launch and my business. And Heidi Sadecki calls me an absolute marketing master. Heidi is a leadership coach and she is a master at leadership coaching, but she just really doesn't do marketing. And that's totally cool because, you know, when you're excellent at what you do, you don't have to be excellent at everything. So we did make a great team when we worked on growing one of her leadership programs. All right, strategy number 4. Now we're getting into the little bit of the uncomfortable things. And remember what I said, you're only gonna pick 3. So I wanna know what your favorites are at the end of this workshop. Strategy 4, as a way to position yourself, is to be featured in the media, to get some publicity. And when you get the publicity, there's a part 2 to this. You need to leverage it. So this is my speaker sheet. This is what I send out when a company wants to hire me to come and speak in their organization. And at the bottom of this, I have my publicity features in order to position me as different than the other speakers that are applying for the job. Let me blow this up for you a little bit. So at the bottom, it says as seen in. And these are the different media outlets where I've been featured over the years, okay? As seen in, really popular, really great line that you want to use when you've had some media features. And you can just have one, as seen in, as seen on. Now, if you have an office, if you have a physical office, if you're a dentist or a doctor or a spa or a yoga studio and you've been featured in the media, that's really important. What you want to do is you want to get a plaque or you want to get reprints and you hang them on your wall, you have them on your shelf to hand out to people, either reprints or a plaque that goes on the wall. Because if you're a doctor or a dentist or a yoga studio or a hair salon, and there are 3 or 4 hair salons or doctors or dentists or chiropractors in your community, but you're the only one that's been on TV, you now stand out, okay? Now I wanna show you one of my very first clients, Mary Lee Gannon. Mary Lee has been featured in a lot of media. She's also a leadership coach. She is very well spoken. She does excellent work with high-level CEOs. And Mary Lee has 4 media, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN Money. Now, she's also been featured in all of the ones that I was featured in as well, plus many, many more. But what she's done here is she's chosen the most prestigious. She hasn't listed every single place she's been featured on her byline or on her website tag because it's just too much. You pull out the top 3 or 4 most influential when you're strategizing this. And the good news for you is if you've had 3 features in the media, you're really good on the publicity, leveraging the publicity. You don't have to keep positioning yourself in publicity anymore. All right, now I'm going to take you into a little bit more of discomfort for some of you. Now, some of you, depending on the work that you have, you love to write. Writing comes very easily to you, and it's something you love to do. But there are some of you that never want to write again. You're like, I've graduated from college and I am done writing. No more for me, right? So if you are somebody who doesn't like to write, you don't have to do this. But if you enjoy writing, then writing is a fantastic way to position yourself. This is my client, Misty Lynn Cawthon. Misty Lynn owns a Pilates studio and has done Pilates. She's phenomenal in that field. She really stands out, has done some great work in that field, but she's recreating herself. She's moving on to something new. And what she does is high-end luxury retreats for women. So her Pilates studio was very zip code based. Anybody that lives in this community is going to be interested in coming to this Pilates studio. But now her retreats, they're held in exotic locations, like Mexico and the Caribbean. And so we're no longer drawing from just the zip code where she was doing Pilates anymore. So we want to position her on a global level. And I'm very pleased to tell you that she has a blog on Thrive Global, and she's very popular on there. And what is she doing? She's not writing about Pilates, you guys, because her high-end luxury retreats for women who are busy are about self-care. So if you follow Missy on Thrive Global, you're going to see that she talks about self-care. Now, this is just an image, so I can't click on it. But when you read her article at the bottom, it will say Misty Lynn is the founder of the Finding Your You Retreats for Women, and it will take you right to her website. So a place like Thrive Global that has thousands and thousands and thousands of viewers is a place where she can reach people that otherwise never would have found her. Okay, so if you like the idea of writing as a way to position yourself, you don't have to necessarily write for, USA Today or, CNN Money. You can write your own newsletter. You can you can write something or be written about in your alumni newsletter, or if you are a certified professional, in your organizational newsletter. There are also industry magazines, HR magazines, finance magazines. Oh my gosh, there's psychology magazine, nurses, teachers, just about every industry has their own magazine, okay? And a lot of them are looking for quality content. That's positioning. If your town has a local business journal, that's a great place for you to offer some fantastic content. Online, there's Your Tango, there's Medium, and LinkedIn. Anybody watching this today can go right now and write something on Your Tango, Medium, or LinkedIn. And what I want you to write about is a problem that you solve for your clients, a problem that they have, something that they want to read. This is not sales copy. This is a strategy. So let me see if I can think about the first thing that I ever wrote about. I think I'm going to tell you, in my early days when I was just after social worker, I wrote a column that got a story that got picked up nationally in a national magazine. And it was something like 25 things to do with your kids during turn off the TV week, 25 outdoor activities. So I've always been that was my social work sort of thing. When I got into business and became an entrepreneur, I did a great article about how to do community relations. So people know about marketing and people know about public relations, and I talked about community relations. And that was just a brief article that I read, and you can Google me and you'll find lots and lots of articles with examples of tips to help you grow in your life and business. So if you like to write, writing about your expertise is a great tool. Now, if you don't like to write, you might not like to speak. If you like to write, you might really enjoy speaking. Some of us speak very naturally and are very comfortable speaking in front of a group. And if that's you, let me tell you something. The person with the microphone is always the most important person in the room. So speaking about your expertise is a great way to position yourself. If this is something you don't want to do, take a deep breath. You don't have to do it. But if you're good at it, give it a try. This is my client, Lisa Kral, and she is actually giving a talk tonight, July 31st. And she is speaking tonight on retirement plans for small business. Now, I really wanted to use this as an example because what we've done here is we've taken Lisa's picture and positioned it with her community, her township's Parks and Recreation Department. When people see this invitation or this notice on the website, or they get an invitation or they see it on the bulletin board when they take their kids to soccer practice or swimming, they are automatically aligning Lisa with the township. Even though what she's doing is volunteering to give a community talk, it instantly positions her as a leader in the community because she is giving a talk. Lisa, in the beginning, she's been doing this for a year, and she's never gotten a big crowd at the Parks and Recreation Center. But the crowds that she's gotten have always been high quality. She's gotten a number of clients from this, and guess what else? She's gotten a number of clients that never came to see her talk, but because they saw that she was doing a talk, they called her. Because obviously, if she's speaking for the community, she knows what she's talking about. That's the reputation that you get. Now, this is my client, Vanessa, and Vanessa is a consultant, and she works in the construction, architect, engineer field, and she's highly respected in that field. But when she started her business as a solo consultant, she had to get herself out there, and it isn't really a place where you buy a billboard or a magazine ad. And so what Vanessa did and continues to do is 4 times a year, she gives a workshop to industry leaders, and she talks about their pain. Their pain, what is everybody's pain? You know, disorganization, problems with employees, getting automated. These are things that she does in her consulting field. These are the problems that she solves, and she gives these leaders tips and strategies how to do it. She is a fantastic speaker. She's naturally gifted in front of an audience. People really enjoy learning from her, and they begin to trust her after they've seen, look, when you're in this field and you hire a consultant, it's an investment. But now they're not worried about giving her the investment because they've seen the quality that she offers. Vanessa has also received clients from offering workshops that never went to the workshop. But she told me a story recently about somebody who called her and they said, I keep getting these invitations. Can you fix this problem? So they never even came to one of her events, but because they saw the invitations, they knew that she was an expert. And when they had a problem, she was top of their mind to call them. So speaking about your expertise is a very powerful tool. When you do speak, it's also just like publicity. It's not something that you do once and whoever was there knows about it. You want to leverage it. So anytime that you speak, whether it's in front of a group of 6 or 16 or I don't know, 60 or 80 people here in this group, share proof, take a picture. And what I will do with these pictures is I will use them on social media, I'll use them in my email newsletter, I'll use them in the speaker page of my website. And it's sort of the same thing of as seen in. So I'll say something like, this is a class that I taught on negotiation. This is a class that I taught on communication. This is a class that I taught on public relations, right? And so people are like, oh, so they hired her. This makes sense for me to hire her as well. So anytime that you speak, make sure that you get really good pictures. All right, strategy number 7. Again, this is something that has worked in my career very well, and it was never intentional. It was something that organically happened. Let's see, what year was that? Maybe 2011. It's a picture on the left side of the screen. That's me. My son Brian's kind of cut off in the picture on the right, and that's Niecy Nash. And I won an award in Washington, D.C. And she also won an award. And so we got our picture taken together. And because I was at that workshop, because I was at that conference, the only thing I did at that conference on the microphone was give a thank you talk. And I had a little interview. And then the next day of receiving that award, I was interviewed on CNN in Washington, D.C. And as a result of that, a year later, I got invited to another conference, a different conference in the same town where Susie Orman was a speaker. And I got to be there with Susie Orman as a speaker. So that's different positioning, right? People started seeing my picture with Susie Orman. I started to get more jobs hired because obviously if you're on the stage with Susie Orman, you must be good. So the first year, so that was 2011 that I got the award. 2012, I spoke on stage with Susie Orman. And so because I won that award, I got invited to go to a conference about 60 miles away and give a talk. And that talk was about getting paid what you're worth. And somebody that was sitting in that audience recommended me a year later to work with this guy. And I was able to do that for 4 years, to teach workshops just like this tonight, right? So whenever possible, align yourself with influencers and celebrities. Now, they don't have to be Hollywood celebrities. They can be influencers in your field. Okay, how am I doing on our 45 minutes? We have one strategy left, but let's do a recap. What have we talked about? Remember, I want you to choose 3, okay? Education and experience, become a respected resource, use your endorsements, publicity and media. If you're comfortable, write or speak about your expertise, and use celebrity or influencer alignment, easier now than it ever has been in the history of the world, I think. And the number 8 strategy that I want to give you is recognition and awards. And this is something that most women really resist, but it is so easy to do because nobody wants to nominate themselves for recognition and awards. I often recommend that my clients get together and nominate one another for recognition and awards. So let's give you some examples here. This is my client, Jennifer White. She's a recent graduate of my Leadership Academy. And Jennifer has received some peer recognition, okay? And this is excerpted from the middle of her bio. This isn't the beginning of her bio. This is the second paragraph. And it says, in 2019, Jennifer was selected by her peers to serve on the National Market Asset Analyst Leadership Council within AFLAC. This is a group that meets throughout the year to maintain excellence within their accounts, projects, and initiatives. In addition, she's also received 2 Founders Awards for Management Excellence. And Jennifer is very much aligned with the word excellence. I want to tell you that she got that peer nomination of over 50 people that serve in her level of the company, and she had only been with the company for about 4 months when she got that recognition. So she truly is exceptional. She also takes a great picture, doesn't she? Okay, so when you get that recognition, be sure that you use it. Make sure that you place it in your bio, okay? This is one of my clients, Ava, and Ava, I have to tell you, she's probably not gonna be happy with me for putting her in this presentation. Ava really doesn't enjoy getting awards, but her husband, Scott, is a brilliant marketer, and she is deserving of so many awards. And he makes sure that she gets nominated for them. And I could have picked so many different awards, but the reason I picked this one, Top Esthetician USA 2018, is because I just really love this picture of Ava. I really do. So it came from Aesthetic Everything, and she was chosen as the top esthetician in the USA for 2018. Fantastic recognition and well-deserved for her. And I'm proud to tell you and pleased to tell you that as much as she probably doesn't like this, that plaque is hanging right up in her spa, right? It's kind of around the corner, but it's in a good place that you see when you're checking in and when you're registering, when you're paying for your services or buying gift certificates. So I always enjoy seeing Ava get an award. Here's another client of mine. This is Ruth Ann Bowen. She is a web designer, and Ruth Ann has gotten a lot of designations within her field. They probably are not awards that you may be familiar with. However, they're very distinguished in her field. Let me blow this up for you a little bit. So she is, I can't even read this now, but she is a Wix Pittsburgh ambassador. She's a Wix designer, and she's received other Wix designations of excellence. And I love how Ruth Ann does a very great job of not making this like front and center, but definitely including it with her signature and on her website. It shows how she sets herself, how she has set herself apart from her competition and has really achieved excellence in web design. Her website is thebowenagency.com if you want to check it out. Okay, now this one I had to do some searching for. This is another client of mine, Tiffany, and she's actually my own insurance agent. And I had to dig on Tiffany because I knew that she had won an award, but she wasn't really that happy about letting people know about it. She's kind of tricky that way. But I did do some digging, Tiffany, and I found you online. And Tiffany became a 5-star insurance professional in 2018. That means that she's passed a certain number of credentials. And she's a 5-star award winner, and so that sets her apart from her peers. So if you want to be with a 5-star award person, and I just want to say, if you need some insurance, business, or personal, or car, Tiffany just really knows her stuff, and so it doesn't surprise me at all that she received an award. I hope this information has been very helpful to you tonight. I do have a recap for you. I'm going to give you the list again, but I want to tell you, if you think that you'd enjoy making a shift in your life or business, and you want to work with me either through my leadership program or through the shift coaching program, go ahead and put your name below. There will be somewhere a link that you can get in touch with me, or send me a message that says, hey, send me some more information about shifts, and I'll be happy to get that to you. In fact, I would love to offer anybody listening to this a complimentary mini coaching session or mini strategy session. You know, I'm really not a coach. I'm really a consultant. My clients come to me and they say, Beth, I want to be positioned, or Beth, I want packages in my business, or I've had this business for a while and we're doing okay, but I really like to do a lot better. I'd like to make more thousands of dollars. I'd like to quit my job. That's what I really work with, but I'm not a coach. I'm a strategist and I'm a consultant. I work super, super fast. I have tons of ideas and energy. And you know what? That's not for everyone. So anybody that's considering working with me, I like to offer you a complimentary mini session where I'll work with you in the same way that I work with my clients. You just come to me with one problem in your life or business. We'll talk for about 10 minutes. We'll solve that problem, and then if you're interested in working with me in either program that I offer, I'll give you that information at that time. So what are your questions? All right, there is a question and answer box. Oh, wow. I see some of you have already been putting some questions in the question and answer box. So let me go down here, and if you have any questions about what I have said so far, I am going to give you a recap of all 8 strategies. But if you have any questions based on what you've learned right now, I love this picture. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Okay, all right. Aw, thank you so much. Some of you are giving great compliments, saying that I've given you some refreshing ideas. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for being here. I know it's evening time. Some of you are probably pretty tired, but positioning is exciting, isn't it? It's good to learn these strategies. For some of you, they might be a refresh. So thanks for the compliments. All right, let's see what we have here. Okay, Pam is asking, Beth, how many awards should I list on my bio? That is a fantastic question, Pam. I recommend that you list 3 awards, no more than 3. Now, if you only have 1 award, then you say she is recently, or she, so for example, I could say in, what did I say, 2012 was recognized with, what was it? Top 20 most influential women on LinkedIn. So I don't use that award all the time because I have had some other national awards, the Woman of Courage Award. I got the 40 Under 40 Leadership Award, the Radical Woman Award that you saw me with Niecy Nash. So I'll use those 3 because they're national awards or they're bigger awards. But the top 20 most influential on LinkedIn, I might use that if I'm teaching a workshop on positioning or if I'm teaching a workshop on social media. It makes a lot of sense for me to use that in my introduction. So I use my awards both on my bio and in my introductions, and I don't list all of them. You list them as they make sense for the audience that you're trying to reach, and you try to keep it to 3, because if it's 5, 6, or 7 awards, it just becomes a little bit dull. I did work with a client once that was in media. She's actually a TV news anchor for many years, and she wrote a book, her autobiography. Eleanor had many, 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 many awards, and she'd been receiving them for years. I mean, she was just a woman who broke barriers in broadcasting. And so what we did with Eleanor's awards was we picked the most recent or the most prestigious. So she had won an Emmy Award in the 1980s. I think it was the 1980s. And even though it was a lot older than her Businesswoman of the Year award, it's an Emmy, right? So we always listed the Emmy. So 3, and if you have a lot, 1, if you only have 1, okay? If you have many more than 3, then do 3 and do the ones that are most relevant or the most prestigious. Great question, Pam. Okay, let's see. Oh, thank you, thank you. Yes, I'm hearing you. Lisa is saying, I can't speak, I can't be in front of an audience. That's okay, Lisa. There are lots of other things that you can pick from. All right, Michelle asks a great question. Michelle says, when you're looking at publicity, are TV stations more prestigious than podcasts? Very great question. And we didn't talk at all about using podcasts to positioning yourself, but podcasts are a really relevant tool these days. And my answer for you, Michelle, is yes, but. All right. So being on NBC, ABC, CBS, I mean, that's always going to, at least in this time period in our lives, that is still very prestigious. CNN, you know, those are Good Morning America. Those are prestigious places to position yourself. However, if your ideal client is not watching that TV show or is not at all interested or aligned with that, it might be better. I don't know what you do, Michelle, but it might be better if you were in a publication for, you know, let's just say you're an architect, right? So if you were featured in an architect publication where all of your clients read and see it, that might be more prestigious for you. The same thing with a podcast. If you're an architect and you do, I'm just making this up, Michelle, because I don't know what you do, but let's just say you're an architect and you do all green architecture, you're all eco-friendly, and you go onto a podcast where people are willing to pay you to come to their city to do a design for them. That is better, in my opinion. The exposure is better than if you were on CNN and it was nice to put that next to your name, but you didn't get any clients from it. So it's all good. It's really all good. When you are pitching yourself to a podcast, though, you really want to look at, because they're time consuming to do. And you want to look at podcasts where your ideal clients are probably listening. Great question. All right. Oh, Susan asks a very good question, again, about something we did not talk about. I talked to you about writing to position yourself as an expert, but I talked about things like newsletters and blogs, and Susan is talking about being an author and writing a book. And Susan is asking, what should I expect to pay to become an author? That is a great question. And I'm wondering right now, Susan, if I have any recordings online about writing a book, because I've taught a lot of classes about writing a book. But to answer your question briefly, it depends. If you self-publish, you can pay anywhere from like $800 or $900 to $15,000. It depends on how much work you do yourself and what kind of an agency that you work with. If you publish with like a boutique firm where it's not a super huge publishing house, but they are a book distribution publisher, then how that normally works is you don't pay them to get your book published, and they don't pay you a royalty until all of the books have been sold and that like their investment has been met. So depending on what you're writing about, that's a really good option to use a boutique printer. And then of course, if you're published by a major publisher, they're going to pay you to publish your book, but they keep most of the profits, right? So it all depends on on how you do it. But if you're self-publishing, it can go between $900 to $15,000. I would say if you're kind of savvy, you might want to budget $2,500, but we should really talk and let me know more about what you're doing so I can answer that question a little bit more specifically for you. Thank you for that great question. And by the way, obviously being an author of a book is a great way to position yourself. Okay, Kim, let me read this here. Oh, okay, she's asking me about the plaques that I mentioned when you win so there's 2 ways that you can get plaques. Obviously, if you've won an award, sometimes that the agency that's given you an award, it might be a plaque or it might be a statue, something like that. But when you've been featured in the media, even if it is a blog, podcasts, newspaper, magazine, TV, you can get a plaque that is actually as seen in, and you hang that on your wall at your office. So I'm in my home office right now, but at my studio, where I see clients, I have a few plaques. I have 3 plaques on the wall. My very first media feature, and then my first newspaper, and then my first magazine I have on the wall. And let me tell you, hold on a second. Let me think about who I use. Those can get very, very pricey, Kim, but you want to look for this website. It's my contact there, his name is James, James, Garish, Garish, and he works for a company called In the News. And the website is inthenewsonline.com, inthenewsonline.com, and that's where I buy my plaques. My first one is a wooden, I wish I could show it to you. It's a wooden plaque, but now they make these really beautiful acrylic plaques. And my first newspaper, my first magazine articles are on acrylic plaques, and they look fantastic on the wall. And it's very prestigious, and your clients really do admire that when they see it. All right, so looking at the clock here, I'm going to do one more question. So I see a few of these, and some of these I will answer by email afterwards, but let me grab one more. Lisa says, how can I meet a celebrity? Okay, great question, Lisa. How can you meet a celebrity? Well, you know, I met Niecy Nash. That was completely unplanned. I didn't even have any idea I was going to win that award. It never occurred to me it was possible to win that award. So that was a total happenstance and accident, and a very happy memory for me. But I will tell you, a great way to meet a celebrity is to start local in your hometown. And a lot of celebrities go to charity events. So if there are charities that you support, some local celebrities will be emceeing or hosting charity events. Get involved with those charities, serve on committees, serve on, we didn't even talk about another way to position yourself. Serving in the community would be like serving on a board. You might be able to meet a celebrity that way. And honestly, I have to tell you, some of my friends who are reporters, they like to meet people on Twitter. They appreciate people who read their articles and pitch them ideas that way. So those are 2 ideas for you. And I'll give that some thought. If I have any other ideas, I will let you know. I don't actually know you, Lisa, in person, so I don't know what you do, but I will check out your question in a little bit and see if I have any other ideas for you. All right, let's go back to that list before we finish up. Remember, we have 8 ways to position yourself as a leader, as an influencer. Which one do you choose? Education, become a resource, endorsements, publicity, writer, speaker, celebrity influencer, or recognition and awards? Write your 3 down. I hope you've enjoyed this workshop, and I want to invite you to stay connected with me. You can find me on all of the social media channels, and also if you ever need a dose of Vitamin Beth, look up PittsburghBizTVShows.com, and you can have some of my videos anytime you need a little inspiration. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with me, and I look forward to seeing you in a better position. Bye-bye.